On this episode, we discuss Venom, The Last Dance. Why did I say it that
way? Perfect. Keep it.
Perfect. Yeah,
Dan
perfect.
Did the best one.
Cut, print, use exactly.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
And I'm Elliot Kalin.
Hey,
What?
folks.
Oh.
The Flophouse podcast is on the Maximum Fun Network, and that's important because right now is the Max Fun Drive. The Max Fun Drive is the one time a year, a 2-week period where all the shows on Max Fun are going to be asking you, the listeners, to support our shows by becoming Max Fun members. I'll be talking about more about what the Max Fun Drive is and what your support does later on in the episode. But right now, you should head over to MaximumFun.org/join and sign up right now and support our cool show.
Thanks for calling it cool, Stuart. This cool show is where we watch movies that either audiences or critics rejected or were middling on, often in the case of this particular series.
Or we were excited to talk
Or we just
about
wanted
it.
to talk about it.
You know, just stuff we want to talk about. We don't need a reason.
Kind of gets loose, man. But mostly bad movies
Or-
we talk about on the show.
Or it fits within a very tight theme.
The theme month. The theme month. Of course, this being Max Fun Drive, we're doing a very exciting theme month. All movies without Spider-Man in them. I'm talking Kraven the Hunter. I'm talking Venom, The Last Dance. I'm talking Heartbeats.
Directed, written by Paul Schrader.
One of the least Spider-Man having movies there is. All
Prove it.
three of these.
Listener, prove to me that Spider-Man is in Heartbeeps. You can't. He's not in it. Therefore, it fits the series.
But obviously, a couple of those are part of the Sony Spider-Man universe, notable for its lack of Spider-Man.
It's the Spider-Man without Spider-Man universe. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
Garfield
Sony,
without
more
Garfield.
like baloney.
You got him.
You did it.
Pack it up. We succeeded.
This is a comedy podcast as well as being educational.
So in this
Yeah,
episode,
even though we're under hints and life hacks in the podcast app. Yeah.
Tips and tricks.
this one's about Venom: The Last Dance. The last dance between Eddie Brock and Venom. One would presume. It seems like this is actually going to be the final
I mean,
one of these.
they
although
sure
maybe
kill Venom at the end.
So in
spoiler
the
alert.
first movie, we were led to believe that like Venom died and then he shows up again at the end. And then
Yeah.
the second one, doesn't Eddie die and then Venom brings him back?
I think so.
There's nowhere else to go from.
there's certainly no way that this could be brought back as some sort of stunt in the larger, like the MCU mainline stuff, and not this weird side Eddie that they co-produced.
The fact that this is the only profitable part of the Spider-Man without Spider-Man universe, I don't think that would let them ruin the narrative coherence of the series by bringing the characters back from the dead. I don't know about that.
Anyway,
This
Yeah,
one,
sorry, go on.
So Venom 2 was the one that ended with him being pulled into the Marvel universe, right?
yes, and this addresses that briefly at the beginning. But so let's get into it. Let's
do
we
it.
begin-
Who's doing the summary this week?
I am me.
Oh, buckle your
Sort of the
seatbelt.
Venom
Yeah.
of the podcast.
Yeah, you're the real Venom of the podcast.
Got that lethal protector energy.
Uh-huh.
Sure do. Yep.
So we begin the movie, as by closed captioning said, with hissing and snarling. And we meet Null, God of the Void, Slicer of Worlds. Now, this is a Marvel villain that actually exists.
This
And
isn't.
not
This
as-
isn't. What we say? Not as what?
Not as I presumed, some bullshit that Venom made up. But I looked it up.
No,
I'm like,
Does
oh, this
it's
look
a real
like
thing.
he does look like a World of Warcraft villain.
yeah.
He does. He is the villain from a storyline that was in the relatively recent Venom comics named The King in Black, where it turns out that he is the personification of the Void. He personifies the Void by basically being an evil Ernie-looking type of like smiling like a
Wait, now I'm
rictus,
listening.
pale, long-haired, white-haired character. And he is the creator of the Clintar, also known as the symbiotes, and he can do stuff to control them and whatever. And he represents destruction and nothingness. And in the I don't know if they've made this connection in the movies, probably not, but like Gore the God Butcher from the Thor movies and the Thor comics, he is connected. That's how he gets his power. Is somehow connected to
Right.
Null also, you know.
And the existence of this character made more sense to me when I remembered that, like, you know, in the Marvel universe, we have these corners that are like Asgard or what, like more high fantasy corners. Because watching this movie, I'm like, this seems weird that there's this sort of like dark fantasy character with like a flaming sword in shackles somewhere, and that's somehow connected to the Venom symbiote.
Yes.
And at no point does he actually interact with any other characters.
Yeah, it's true.
No, I will say this is a character who I have mixed feelings about in the actual comics, because it does feel like it takes a character who I grew up with, thinking of as a crazy guy with superpowered clothes that are also crazy, and he is more of a murderer who thinks he's a hero and hates Spider-Man, and this blows him up into a cosmically important character who, at a certain point, is the only thing standing between total destruction and the continuing existence of the universe. But it is weird to suddenly start this movie with a character who looks like Elric, basically, like you know, talking about how he will make the universe burn and things like that, and
Which is something that Elric would probably do, yeah.
Sure, yeah, evil sword and everything. So I could see how this might be jarring to audiences who are not familiar with this character at all. It's a real tonal shift for the Venom series.
But Null drops some backstory on us. He was betrayed by his, quote, children, which is, of course, are these symbiotes. He talks about some bullshit codex that will free him. And so the movie has its MacGuffin. And he sends some non-symbiote slimy monsters to find...
The xenophages, or xenophages.
Xenophages, okay.
Yeah.
Is that from the comics?
I think they are from the comics. Yeah, a lot of this Null stuff, I read it at the time, and it didn't quite. There is a codex in the comics, but it's in, I think, the blood of Dylan Brock, Eddie's estranged son, who's a kid who eventually becomes Venom for a little bit, and it's all stuff that it's stuff that doesn't. It's not the Venom that I grew up with. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You know, but this is a lot of comic stuff. Yeah.
So we join Eddie Brock, though. Tom Hardy, our hero. He's
Bronson himself.
He's still at a bar in the MCU universe that he was, of course, zapped into during No Way Home. But he's quickly sent back to the No Spidey's-averse, presumably by Doctor Strange off screen. We don't see, like, there's, you know,
talking to the same
hole that opens up.
Bartender played by Danny Reyes from Ted Lasso.
Mm-hmm.
It really is an enormous waste of the idea of Eddie Brock showing up in the Marvel Universe. And I don't know if I think it is funny to make a big deal out of him being transported there and all he does is hang out at a bar and then get sent back home, or if I think it is a waste of potential. And I'm not sure, because the other thing is that Venom in the comics, we probably talked about this with the other Venom movies, his whole motivation is that he hates Spider-Man. Eddie Brock's career was ruined by Spider-Man. The symbiote was rejected by Spider-Man. So they combine their hatreds of Spider-Man and to become this new being that hates Spider-Man the most. And so for Venom to show up in the Marvel Universe, I guess the implication is now he's going to go after Spider-Man. Why would he? They don't know each other. They're strangers. It doesn't matter.
I do. My favorite bit in the comics was when Spider-Man defeats Venom by being like, okay, symbiote, you can come back and like, I'll take you back. And the symbiote like pulls too hard and that he and Eddie are joined too closely and it like knocks them both out. Like,
yes.
Like perfect.
It's also that like so the whole thing is that the symbiote and Eddie Brock have permanently bonded in a way Spider-Man refused to do with the symbiote. When him saying like, I'll take you back, it's what I like about it. It is the hero defeating the villain by breaking the villain's heart by showing that the villain's like teammate would rather be with Spider-Man than with Eddie Brock.
Which is kind of like the way audiences have reacted to this non-Spider-Man universe.
I guess so, yeah.
But anyway, in what is for Eddie Brock Bar Prime, Tropical Bar Prime, Venom quips about being done with multiverse shit. The whole audience applauds, I assume. Yeah. They're like, yeah, we get it. And he does some Tom Cruise cocktail stuff.
Love it.
Makes him a drink. On the news, a convenient report relating to Eddie Brock himself. He's wanted for murder for something that I had forgotten about from Venom 2.
It's also amazing that this local American crime story is on Mexican news.
Yeah.
Well, it's English language news broadcast in Mexico, but it's a big story, I guess.
It's a bar that's catering to tourists. It makes sense.
Yeah, good point. It's always tuned to MSNBC or something, yeah.
But, it's because he supposedly killed this cop at the end of the last movie, which of course it was not him.
Probably Carnage did it or something.
Carnage did.
That cop
he bonded with
the not at all no imagination name of Patrick Mulligan. He is the character from the comics, but I just love they're like, I guess he's an Irish cop. Let's call him Patrick Mulligan. Like, sure.
They're like, okay, we got to hide out in New York because we're wanted men / alien. And they're immediately picked up on CCTV as they leave the bar, so we know they're being watched. They do some lethal protector shit, eating up some dogfighter guys. You guys have caged
Now-
with dogs.
That's Tom Hardy's. Tom Hardy's really passionate about dog rescue, so I'm
really?
glad that he gets to bring
That's-
his love into this.
That's true. He does love dogs. The thing is, we see they have a lot of dogs in cages. I think it's just kind of implied that they're doing something bad with the dogs. We never see them do anything. All we
They
really
see
know
like
for
a
sure.
ledger that has a bunch of hash marks on it.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's it. Because all we really know is that these are a
Says
bunch of guys
Thursday,
with these are a bunch of
illegal
guys
dog
with
fights.
yeah. It says Monday, buy dogs. Tuesday, make them fight. Wednesday, kill other dogs. Because all we really know is they're guys with tattoos who own
destroy
dogs.
evidence.
It's all here, black and white. Yeah, they do a fight. This fight's kind of funny. Eddie throws a shoe at one point, which leads to a movie-long gag about how he's always losing his shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And so as they leave, one of the big other monsters is lurking in the shadows, and someone somewhere says, "Get me General Strickland." So you know things are getting serious.
Uh-huh.
Because
Yeah.
General Strickland's being called in.
Oh boy, there is.
He's got strict in his name. You know this dude doesn't fuck around.
At the scenes between General Strickland, we'll get to them, and the scientist in it. It is nonstop.
Juno
them saying,
Temple, yeah.
Juno Temple. Them saying exposition to each other that
Yeah.
those characters would already know. And I was like, there was much, and I will not blame the writers of the movie for this, but there was so much of the movie where I was like, why am I trying so hard to hide the exposition and the things that I write when these characters are just stating it outright so blatantly, you know?
Well, let's talk about him. We meet him right now. Chiwetel Ejiofor shows up.
Great.
He's,
second
Strickland.
go around in the MCU, baby.
Who was he before?
kidnaps-
Oh, this is not the MCU, technically.
He was Mordo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He was Mordo in the Doctor Strange movies. But that's a different universe, so it's okay.
He kidnaps the bartender because he's been exposed to this symbiote guy, I guess. They're trying to figure out information. I don't know.
This is, of course, an American military operation. So, of course, they can go into Mexico, kidnap a Mexican national, and then, how do they have the jurisdiction to
these
do any
fucking
of this
days.
stuff?
Probably Black Ops, by the way.
I guess it's Black Ops, but they're all in. I mean, they're all, of course, all wearing green camouflage as they walk around a Mexican city.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We should be sending them to Canada, apparently, to stop all the fentanyl. That's, I guess, what? Sorry. Bad reference to bad, stupid people making stupid news.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're introduced to Juno Temple's character. She's having some kind of dream where she's a kid with her brother who's like, I want to work at NASA so bad, and then he gets struck by lightning.
It's like, as long as I am not exposed to my only weakness, lightning bolts.
I love space and the things that come out of it. Something from the sky has killed me, but I love it so.
This is so weird to me because it's like, what, are we not going to believe that Juno Temple could work as a alien scientist at NASA without having a backstory involving a kid brother dying from lightning?
The thing is, Dan, sometimes when people make movies or tell stories, they're like, my audience is fucking stupid. So I need to make things as clear as possible and explain every little fucking thing because they're idiots.
I have this job because I had to fulfill the dream of a man who died.
I guess if ever there's it's and this is a character they don't do that much with in the movie. It feels very strange that they've given her any backstory or flashbacks at all.
Yeah.
But,
They should have used that time to give her stuff to do in the present.
Yeah.
now, according to Wikipedia, she's haunted by the death of her brother from a lightning strike that also paralyzed her arm. I did not recognize her as having a paralyzed arm in the movie.
not
Did you
at
notice
all.
that?
No.
I didn't notice it at all. Okay, so, but it is very funny to suddenly go to a flashback for a character who otherwise will receive no character development throughout the film.
Well, she and Strickland head for work. Where do they work? Not in an office. Area 51.
Not Area 51. They work under Area 51 in a different area.
Because Area 51's being decommissioned, as we hear on the radio.
It's being decommissioned in the funniest possible way, which is by having voice-activated tanks of acid spill out onto the buildings to dissolve them. It is.
I think it's a good idea, actually.
And of course, they're setting it up for it to be used in the big climax against the bad guys. But it is a very funny way to demolish government property: is to set up a huge tank of acid, attach it to a voice activation trigger, so that Strickland has to go to each one and say Strickland. happened, and then it says voice activation recognized, and then just sprinkles acid out of the tanks onto the buildings.
Yeah, he's using the Chekhov brand
Chekhov brand acid
tanks.
Yeah.
So anyway, these two are a real odd couple. She's optimistic about aliens, and he's a real everything's a potential enemy guy.
Not since the Thing from Another World have we seen such an interesting pairing of a scientist who likes aliens and an army guy who doesn't. What is Steve saying?
In the biz we call this a Dharma and Greg.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're not technically a couple though. They're not a romantic couple. We should say also.
Wait,
maybe they are.
They were
actually
a romantic couple in Dharma and Greg. I thought they were just roommates.
No, they were
together.
married, Stuart.
Oh, I'll have to watch the show again.
Again. It's a big thing to miss.
You might have watched Dharma and Grieg, in which Dharma and Edvard Grieg, the composer,
they were just
shared
friends.
a room.
Yeah,
they were just friends. They're just roommates. Yeah.
Well, at Area 51, they're studying the cop that Eddie supposedly killed, but he's
Patrick
actually
Mulligan.
got stray space goo all over him, and he's turned into a symbiote himself, or he has one, rather.
He has a symbiote now. Now, does he already have one, or they exposed him to one?
I think he had one, and he was
They selected him.
He wasn't doing well, so they had to bond him with another symbiote or something.
I see. Okay.
The 51 crew interrogate the cop. They learned that the symbiotes came here to try and escape Null, which it's a weird. I don't know. It's a weird way that this movie tries to make all of the symbiotes into sort of like nice guys.
They're all refugees from an alien monster, alien authoritarian. Yeah.
Also, still do bite people's heads off and eat them. But whatever, it's the classic. We'll make you like these guys by having a bigger bad guy. Situation. And the cop has some sort of generic fantasy vision of an apocalyptic future with a flaming sword, and he goes, "The darkness has teeth." And meanwhile,
it is so funny to me anytime this happens in a thing, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it in my own work sometimes, or will be in the future, where people are like, "Explain to us what's going on," and instead of saying, "We're fleeing Null, who's an evil alien god, and he's trying to find and destroy us," it's like out in the darkness. He waits. The darkness has teeth. Something grew. The sort of, or like in 28 Days Later. What happened? Gru the Wanderer.
Gru the Wanderer
he's out there looking
wandering.
for cheese dip, causing trouble with and in 28 Days Later.
Yojimbo?
Both of them together.
Of course, because Stan Sakai works on both. Where in 28 Days Later, when a guy wakes up from a coma and he's chased by a zombie, and he's like, "What's going on?" And the woman goes, "It didn't happen the way you'd think it would happen." It did, and it's like, just tell me that there's zombies on the loose. Like,
I want to know what the antecedent to it is in that sentence.
Exactly. It's the it that I'm wondering about the existence of, the identity of.
Yeah. Well, Eddie and Venom are flying to New York, not the normal way, but on the outside of the plane.
It's pretty funny, actually.
They're clamping on the outside. It's funny, but it's weird because Eddie himself is mostly outside of Venom. Like Venom could engulf Eddie, but instead Eddie's sort of hanging on to Venom up in at 30,000 feet or whatever.
Where there's not enough oxygen to live, and it's super cold, and also. The symbiote, I don't remember if it's the same in these movies, but in the comics, the symbiote is weak. One of his weaknesses is loud sounds. So to be strapped to the side of a plane would be very difficult for him, probably.
I mean, later on, there's a reason why Eddie can't go full Venom, but I don't think they know that at that point.
No, they don't know that
there's
yet.
a reason to.
Yeah,
it's mainly a goof,
Yeah,
it's
it's
for
a
fun.
funny
just for
goof.
silliness. I mean, it's a silly movie. Come on.
There's a mid-air action sequence. They're attacked by one of the monsters, and Venom turns into a parachute to save Eddie.
That's cool.
And then we meet a UFO conspiracy couple who are driving around in a Winnebago. And I didn't know.
Starring Reese Ifans.
Well, yeah, I didn't recognize him at first, and I'm like, oh, Reese.
Reese Ifans appearing in yet another Spider-Man related movie after playing the Lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man series.
Yeah, it's great. I wanted a Reese's Piece, and I got one. Piece of Reese.
I will say, this family. It's this hippie family that is trying to see Area 51 so they can see an alien.
Yeah.
I at first hated this family, then loved them, and then got very disappointed that they didn't go away and they had to be part of the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
Because there's a part in the movie that's coming up where they're riding in Eddie is riding in their car and they're singing a song together, and there's a moment where the mom is driving, and the daughter, who's a teenager who hates her family, is in the front seat. And the mom kind of holds onto the daughter's hand, and the daughter looks at her and smiles at her. And they have a younger son who's genuinely enjoying this trip. And I was like, this is the most real any characters have felt in any of these movies in years, I feel like. Just this one family that is doing like kind of a family thing, and Eddie's just there watching it. And I was like, I really love that this moment in these characters. And then the characters keep showing up throughout the movie, and I'm like, come on, guys, just let them go.
I would say the scene is slightly undercut while they're singing Major Tom, that Venom is shouting the lyrics alongside them.
Yes, that's true. It's more the moments between the family, not Venom going, "This is my jam, yes, oh," that kind of stuff.
Well, the emotions undercut. We can argue about that scene when we get to it. We're not quite there yet.
Thank God.
Eddie notices that Venom is acting weird when
I thought
they
you
land.
said Venny for a moment. I'm like, my cousin Venny.
My cousin Venny.
Oh man,
we'll get my cousin Venny. His lawyer's
He'll just eat the judge.
His symbiote's the lawyer, and then Marissa Tomei is shouting at Venom, going, "My biological clock is ticking like this."
His accent is would be fitting for
it would be fitting
for a
but,
New York.
But
New
now
Jersey
you mentioned
lawyer.
Venom in the scene. He goes, "The two Utes." Excuse me, what is a Ute? Utes. Now I just want to say my cousin
play
Venny.
dumb.
So you're saying grits cooks faster on your stovetop than anywhere else in the known universe?
Eddie notices that Venom is acting weird, and this is manifested by Venom being sort of like a little floating head next to Eddie with symbiote tendrils attached, and he's like, "Why are you acting weird?" He forces him to do an exposition dump where Venom explains if Eddie died, Venom can bring him back to life, but the act of doing that would combine their DNA, forming a key called a codex. And turns out that's already happened. We see a flashback to a previous Venom movie where Eddie died, a thing that I also had forgotten.
I had forgotten about.
I'm glad for this explanation, even though it is.
Oh, thank God! Without it, we'd
just
be lost.
Exposition.
We'd be lost in the darkness like Noel.
Yeah, and Noel needs that codex to escape the prison the Clintar put him in.
It just rolls off the tongue, this non-gibberish.
Also, I've never liked the name Clintar. That's straight from the comics. I've always thought it was not a good sounding name for that alien species.
So
I am President Clintar from another land.
But if Eddie or Venom dies, the codex goes away.
Yes.
So how do they get the codex without killing them?
I don't think Noel cares about killing them. I think he's fine with doing that.
But if he kills them, the codex goes away.
I think it's the who knows?
Maybe
I don't know. He keeps them
him
alive until the last minute. I don't know.
Shove him into a keyhole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shove Eddie Brock into a giant keyhole.
Because if the whole thing was the xenophages were just trying to capture him and like take him back alive, that would be more fun than them trying to like eat everything.
I think the xenophages are not the best tool for getting someone and bringing them back as opposed to just eating everybody. But it's similar. I imagine it's a similar situation to Borderlands, where they're under the belief that the girl is the key to the vault, but that using her to open the vault will kill her, probably. It's that kind of thing. So probably the xenophages would, maybe they can pull the codex out of them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a dumb movie. It doesn't make sense.
Built them to do that.
So anyway,
this is also an alien species that eats people and then spits the blood out the back of their head like they're a wood chipper.
I kind of like that part.
Yeah.
The other main plot upshot of all this gibberish is that Venom cannot totally take over Eddie, as I said before, because when he's in full control, the bad guys can sense him and track him.
So I come to a Venom movie and I don't get to see fucking Venom.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Stuart. You're going to get to see plenty of Venom because they just can't help themselves. And you're going to get to see a Venom horse, a Venom frog, some other Venom stuff. Yeah.
Speaking of that horse, they find him right now. I didn't love... I don't know. I felt bad for the horse because it starts out with like, how fast can you make that horse go without killing it? And I'm like, don't put that thought into my head, movie.
No. Yeah.
But just do the thing. But they find a horse. They turn him into a Venom horse.
Does Venom do this shit in the comics where he like...
No.
Okay.
The thing is that sometimes they'll put the symbiote on different stuff, but the whole thing about Eddie Brock and the symbiote, at least originally, was that like they're bonded permanently. Now they cannot be separated from each other. But then eventually they did find a way to separate him, and he's gone around, and there's been Venom animals. But I feel like when they do it, it's not... Well, actually, they'll do it with other symbiotes a lot. There was a Tyrannosaurus Venom at one point. Like there was, they do that
Landed
stuff.
in the Savage Land or something?
I don't remember, but something like that. All the characters have had Venom symbiotes on them at some point or another now. So
they gallop at super speed to "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen.
Do you think? How did you guys feel about that song choice? Did you feel also as I did, but that is a song that I've heard a lot in stuff now, and I'd be happy for them to find a different song that
think-
got across
yeah.
the same idea?
it somehow I had actually not heard that song pre Shaun of the Dead, even though it's a big Queen song.
Mhm.
But since that time, yeah, it's all over the place.
Should have been what, like
Yeah.
Take Me Home Country Road or something? What do you think?
I mean, that would have been funnier if it was "Take Me Home Country." It's like it's
Yeah.
funnier to have not a high energy song while you're watching a guy get pulled by a horse covered in alien goo.
What if it went wild, wild is the wind that takes me
Yep.
away? What if that song was playing?
What was
Anyway.
it? I've been riding through the desert on a horse with no
Or,
name.
what about,
Actually
like-
has a name. It is Venom.
What about Goodbye Horses?
But Q Lazarus?
yeah.
I don't know that song.
Silence of the Lambs?
Have you ever seen Silence of the Lambs, Elliot?
Yeah, it's when he's like sticking his penis between his
Oh,
legs.
that's when he's like dancing to himself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Goodbye, horses.
Add it to your gym mix.
I will. Yeah, the mix
okay.
that I play when I'm hanging out with my friend Jim Davis, creator of Garfield.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's all
You'll love this.
lasagna-based raps.
Well, anyway, the army, they don't buy this, like, we're refugees thing.
By the way, if you put a single Happy Monday song on that playdist, Jim Davis loses his shit.
He's gonna be so mad. Yeah.
Mondays are never happy. Go on, Dan.
No, I appreciate it. So Chiwetel's like, let's go snag Venom. I thought,
Please, say it like
guys,
that.
let's go snag Venom.
Let's go snag Venom.
You want
I
to
feel
pick
like
up some Venom on the way home?
I like him so much as an actor, but he's always forced to play a guy with a lot of gravitas, and I would love it if he got to be like just a silly guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would love that too. I feel like he's got it in him, and I wish he could use it more often. Yeah.
I thought this was a kind of fun action sequence, even though Elliot, you expressed disdain for Venom bonding to other things. But I like this
I like the
river
part when
action sequence where he's like,
when the Venom symbiote is kind of like jumping from animal to animal, and it's
Yeah.
just a second of seeing each. I was like, that's cool. I like that idea.
yeah, he becomes a fish, he becomes a frog, a Venom frog. He saves Eddie by fully transforming, even though that'll tip off the alien again.
And Eddie,
And,
before he's fully transformed, Eddie kills one of the soldiers that is chasing after them. And this really bothers him. I mean, they did bite the heads off of 4 men earlier in the movie, but this one particularly bothers him, I think, because he can't say Venom did this. It's I did this. you
He
know?
did this,
Yeah.
and he also their mask comes off after he shoots them, and he like looks them in their face as the last light of life.
Also,
Yeah.
like I'm not personally in favor of just going out and killing criminals, but at least in his morality is like, oh, these like Venom's got to eat, so we're eating criminals, not like someone who was presumably just ordered to take me in.
Well,
yeah, but I mean,
Venom-
these like black bag squads, they've probably done all kinds of horrible shit.
I guess so. The thing is, Venom also likes to eat chocolate. And so they could just buy a lot of chocolate, but instead they go out and they bite the heads off of criminals. It feels
Yeah.
like at that point it's a choice to eat the brains and kill those people. I will say one thing I want to say about, which we haven't really talked about this, is Tom Hardy really commits to playing a guy who looks like he is a total wreck and just like
Yes.
a total slob who is at the end of his rope and has hit rock bottom. And I really like that about it.
Tom
you know?
Hardy, a guy who can be incredibly physically intimidating, but he makes himself seem like such a wimp.
It's it feels like a superhero movie where the dude Lebowski is like the hero of the movie, just kind of shambling through and does not look like he should be winning fights and that. And I really like that aspect of it. You know,
Back
he
in
looks like a
Area
guy who has
What?
been worn out by the past few movies.
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you got a Venom on you.
And
for-
we see this in the long flashback sequence at the very end, the flashback montage of times shared between Eddie and Venom, a lot of which just happened in this movie. But you do see a couple from the first movie, and you're like, oh man, he was a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Back at Area 51, Juno Temple interrogates the symbiote again. And the symbiote's like, Venom is the one who has the codex, which gives the army even more motivation to kill Venom. Meanwhile, Eddie meets that family of hippie alien seekers who offer him a ride to Vegas. And as previously mentioned, there's a sing-along to David Bowie's Space Odyssey that Venom loves. He's, for
Space
once,
Oddity,
glad.
right?
Sorry, Space Oddity, yes. For once, he's glad he did not eat people. And yeah, the emotions perhaps are a little undercut by Venom yelling out lyrics, but I enjoyed it because I was imagining Tom Hardy playing Venom loving David Bowie's Space
Yeah.
Oddity
Yeah.
and knowing how much he loves to play
I feel
that
like-
character and do that crazy voice. And
I feel like a lot of these choices are probably in line with things Tom Hardy wants to do.
Yeah.
Like he's not doing things he's not into.
My guess is that Tom Hardy has a certain amount of control at this point, over what's happening on screen in these movies and what he does. But this scene, this is the kind of scene you would have seen in an older movie, and then those characters would have dropped him off at Vegas, and they would have had a goodbye, which we see, and they would have disappeared from the movie. Or later, maybe they would have looked at a TV and seen Eddie on the TV and been like, that's the guy we saw. But instead, these characters keep coming back throughout the movie, and it lessens. This one scene, like I was saying, has an emotional power that I feel like is a real thing about it. Eddie seeing Venom seeing a family that he will never have. That's an experience he'll never experience. And Venom says to him, "We should have had a family, or maybe we should have had children." And I was like, oh, this is a real emotional moment that is working for me in this movie. But the movie, it cheapens it each time. And as soon as I saw that kid and he's like, I'm afraid of aliens to Eddie, I'm like, oh, they're going to put him in danger later. I don't want that. Like, that's not something I want in this movie. So,
And I mean, I feel like that's kind of symptomatic of all the Venom movies, that like they're fairly standard, and then they have occasional brushes with actual interesting stuff. Like when Venom went to the rave in the second one.
and performs the song, right?
Yeah.
well, much as the movie sort of takes a break at this point for a song, let's take a break to go over to Stuart for some more Max Fun Drive stuff.
Earlier, I mentioned a thing called the Max Fun Drive. And if you've been listening to our show, you have probably already heard of this, but I need to explain what the Max Fun Drive is all about. This is the one time a year where our show and the other shows on the network come to you, the listeners, hat in hand, saying, why don't you support our show? It's also a time that we put out some of our best shows. We are doing 3 full-length shows this month during the Max Fun Drive, and they're all about movies without Spider-Man. We also are going to put out we have some cool bonus stuff. There's, in addition to bonus content that's going to be in our bonus feed for all members, and I'll talk about that in a sec. We're also going to be doing things like on the evening of the 20th, Dan and I are going to be doing a show from my Twitch stream where we do a show called The Slop House, where Dan and I cook things in his kitchen. I cook up drinks, he cooks up food, we get hammered. It's pretty fun. And we answer the questions that are burning in your brain that you want to ask us right away when we are at our drunkest and easiest to convince. I think we're also going to be doing a AMA on the Flophouse Discord, which there will be more info, I'm sure, in the show notes. And this is also the best time to join during the Max Fun Drive, because this is when you are going to be able to kind of help boost the numbers, unlock extra things, and also have access to all kinds of cool new gifts. Gifts? Well, I'll talk about that in a second, but first I want to talk about why being part of Max Fun is important to us. We are supported almost entirely by listeners. We are not beholden to some kind of, giant mega corporation that hands down rules for what we can say on the podcast or controls our content or forces us to do ads for companies that we don't believe in. No, by being listener supported, we're able to kind of make the show that we want, and we're able to make a show that is, I think, the best possible show for you, the listener.
And I think it's good to say, we own our own show, and we work in sort of concert with the network, and we get the largest cut of the money, and the network gets some of the money. The network, which is worker owned and operated. So it is owned by the people, and the money goes directly to the people making the shows or helping the shows.
So what this is leading me to is to say, please, why don't you support us today by becoming a Max Fun member? Head to MaximumFun.org/join. And when you get there, what you're going to see, if you're a first-time member, you're going to set up your account, and if you sign up for at least $5 a month, you are going to then be able to split your pick the shows that you listen to, and those are the shows that are going to divide up the money that you pledge to support. Also, some goes to maintenance for the network. You can also, and joining is going to give you all kinds of great access. You can also boost your membership, which is going to let you put a couple extra bucks in the coffer per month if you want to give a little bit more, and if you want to give a lot of bit more. You can also upgrade your membership. We have different membership tiers. And one of the cool things is each membership tier is going to come with some extra little bonus bits of swag that you're going to be able to show off to impress all of your cool friends. Everybody who supports at least $5 a month is going to have access to our Huge catalog of bonus content. I mean, there's so much going back for what we've been on Max Fun like almost 10 years now. So much stuff. And that's all going to be right to your feed. And I'll talk about that, what's going to be in that later. But if you support at the $10 a month or more, you're going to get a pin of your choice. There's a pin representing each of the shows. Our show is represented by a pin featuring Mads Mikkelsen in his guise of Dr. Hannibal Lecter. And it says Mad About Mads, because that is an old joke we made and we love it and stand by it. We are still mad about the man. You can join at even higher levels, which will give you access to things like a super cool beach towel, a bucket hat, so when you go on the beach, your head doesn't get
You don't
all
have to use a
fried up.
normal bucket. You can have a hat that's just shaped like one.
That's the thing. You can get a really cool cooler that is branded. All these things you can do so that when you are hanging out with your friends, they will know that you are a cool person supporting cool people. So, once again, head to MaximumFun.org/join today.
Let's get back to our buddies, Eddie and Venom.
The Eternal Buddies.
What are they up to? Well, they've just made it to what do you call it? Las Vegas. That's what
That's what I call it.
Yeah. Lost Vegas.
what most people
from
call
like
it.
Six String Samurai. Yeah.
they shamble around Vegas for a while, kind of just talking to themselves. At one point, they knock a guy out so Tom Hardy can put on a tuxedo.
I do like the bit where he's not allowed to go into a Vegas casino because he doesn't look good. And I'm like, guys, he looks exactly like everybody I've ever fucking seen in Vegas.
Yeah, what is this dress code for the casino? But you know,
Also, I kind of missed the days where the symbiote was his like clothes.
I kind
Yes.
of maybe the producers are like, for God's sakes, Tom, we'll let you look like a shambles for most of the movie. Put on a tuxedo once in this film.
And they make jokes about how he looks like the sexiest man alive, and I'm like, I'm sure he was People Magazine's sexiest man alive at some point.
Maybe. I think here's my fix for why Venom can't be his clothes is because I think that would get to the point where there's enough venom on him that maybe the xenophages can see him or something like that. I don't know.
In the casino,
But you're right. In the comics, Eddie Brock is just wearing underpants with the symbiote on top of him, and it just changes clothes depending on what he wants to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like big old tidy whiteys, right? Like they're
Yep,
like John
sometimes they're-
Cena in underwear.
They're usually white. Yeah, they're just just big white Hanes underpants. Yeah.
Man, awesome.
in the casino, Venom immediately.
Like, no wonder they're close, because all he's wearing is underpants, and then he's covered with his best friend.
Yeah. Everyone's dream. To be able to wear your best friend around, skin to skin, like a mother and a newborn baby.
While I was watching this movie,
Yes, this is what we're talking about.
yeah, not to give too much info on the life of Stuart Wellington, but as I was watching this movie, I was sitting down on the bed. I was wearing my jeans, which is important because that is the cue for my cat Muscles to jump onto the bed and then roll around on my lap for a while, because he doesn't like bare skin. He only likes jeans. Unlike Venom, he doesn't like being skin to skin. He likes to be on my jeans. But it was a moment where I'm like, Muscles. Muscles was also kind of groggy because he was recovering from having surgery. So he was rolling around on me, and I'm like, Muscles is kind of like my Venom. Like, he yells at me. He's annoying all the time, but I love him. Go on.
You brought it back because, like,
I was also wondering, Dan, how this was related to anything.
Unlike Elliot, I love cats. I adore
don't like
them. But I was kind of wondering what this was.
You look concerned. I'm
how
like,
did this connect?
why are my two friends concerned about me telling a story about my life? Aren't they interested in my life and want to hear from me?
Is that really a story about your life?
Yes, just because I wasn't the hero in the story.
Yeah, that's
sometimes we're not the main character in our lives, guys.
Because they facilitated a moment of closeness between you and your beloved pet. Anyway,
Elliot looks angry at the idea that I could have a closeness with somebody that isn't him. Well, Elliot, next time I'm wearing jeans, you can roll around on my lap.
snuggle.
Thank you. That's all I'm asking for, to get the full experience.
In the casino, Venom has an immediate gambling problem. He wants to play the slots. They run into Mrs. Chen, the deli order from the first couple of movies. She's been winning big. They go to her room. She looks great in her sequin dress. She wants to dance with them. And Dancing Queen starts, and Venom, I guess, is so overcome with the power of dance, he forgets the one rule that he can't fully become Venom, because he immediately does it for this dance sequence with her.
Yeah.
And that
Guess
draws,
what? Guess what? Is the xenophage not going to notice because he's dancing so cool that the codex is there? No, it does notice.
I mean,
yeah.
I like to think that Venom wanted an audience to his dance.
It is a fun sort of weird fake out because they do that though. Like they have the monster show up and then Venom hides inside Eddie again, and it's like T-Rex rules, and you can't sense the monster anymore. He'll just go away, and then the army comes in and kidnaps Eddie immediately afterwards. So I guess that was the fake out. Meanwhile, the hippie family is at Area 51. They want to break in, see what's up.
Hippies, right?
Yeah, they're always breaking
Always
into
trying
army
to break
bases.
into Area 51. That's the thing I know about hippies for sure.
A de-venomized Eddie runs
They're
into
also,
the...
let's just say also, these are bad parents.
Yeah.
It's one thing to take your kids to look at Area 51. It's another
hippie?
It's another thing than to have them be sneaking in under the fence at a classified military installation.
And I think the eldest child keeps pointing out that that they're bad parents and they should be taken away from them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so Eddie runs in. Eddie's in a jail cell. He runs into the cop in the next cell who tells him to release the symbiote army kept in the lab and to keep the codex from null. The army shows up to fuck everything up like officials tend to do, and in the chaos, Eddie and
very libertarian bent from Dan all of a sudden.
Well,
I guess you want to drain the swamp and take a chainsaw to the deep state, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay, I'm talking about the military-industrial complex specifically.
Hey,
but sure.
you're mad about all these DEI hires that are screwing things up for America's military.
Normally he
Not
talks
when
about that off air, but
Not when I
today he
said
can't
no,
help it.
I don't.
I'm just amazed he's bringing it onto the show and
It's
during
an
the Max Fun
anti-
Drive, no less.
It's an anti-military stance, not the people, but sort of the general vibe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the robots that are in control, it's all people, Dan. Anyway.
Lizard people is what Dan says.
Yeah, because he's been listening to a lot of David Icke's stuff, all the
Anyway,
shape-changing multidimensional lizards.
the point
that are
is-
oh, yeah, Dan?
They create chaos so that Eddie and Venom can be reunited, solving a plot complication almost immediately.
Yeah, like the symbiote jumped on one of the researchers and then bounced from her to Eddie, right?
I don't know, man. It happened so fast. It all happened so fast.
Yeah, it's a duck blur.
The monster shows up, and Gino Tempo listens to Venom's hissed instructions to release the symbiotes who bind to various scientists to fight the monster. And everyone breaks out.
Which is what we signed up for, right? We signed up for a movie featuring a ton of Venoms, and we get a ton of them.
I mean,
it's a
assume
sequel
that
to a
those
Venom
are-
movie. It's going to have more Venoms each time, yeah.
Those are Easter egg Venoms.
Yeah, are these all
Elliot?
Easter egg Venoms?
Not all of them, but many of them are Easter egg Venoms. There's Riot, there's Toxin. These are characters that are loosely based on symbiote characters that are also in the comics and who don't show up that often.
And later on, not to spoil things too much, but Juno Temple bounds with a symbiote, and she's got cool symbiote hair. I like that. That's how you know she's a lady.
There's a symbiote lady who has long symbiote hair, in the comics.
Are there any, at least male characters with symbiote hair?
No, the male characters
That's
tend
too
to be
bad.
pretty bald when they're in the symbiote mode, yeah. It's only a ladies thing, yeah. Much the same way that the personification of death in the Marvel Universe is a skeleton in a robe, but she still has boobs, so you know she's a lady.
Yeah, I like how you said personification, which is what the first version of Sonic the Hedgehog when his face looked too human.
Too human, too much, yeah. Those little teeth.
The fight spills out to where the hippies can see them. Eddie reunites with them. At one point, one of the symbiotes yells at Chiwetel for killing another one of them, saying, "We are not the bad guys." I'm like, what are we doing here, everyone?
Dan, this Venom movie about a man who has alien clothes that is being stalked by other aliens, it's got an important message about not othering
not
people who are
othering
different than you. Yeah.
And
aliens who
I
come
do have
down
to
and
point out
chomp on
that
heads.
this xenophage is unstoppable. It scarfs people.
You
If it
can
takes
blow 'em
any
apart.
damage, it reconstitutes.
You blow it up
Yeah.
and it's fine. You shoot it and it's fine. Although it is vulnerable to having its head chopped off, as we find out later. That's the one thing it can't do. It's
yeah.
vulnerable to when the right character kills it. That is
Yeah,
that's
that's
not
a finishing
I was going to
move,
bring this up when we
Yeah.
got there, but
Okay.
we may as well talk about it now. Yeah, later on, one's head gets chopped off, another one gets blasted in the head with a rocket launcher. And I'm like, okay, I guess that kills them. Like literally everything else has just had them reconstitute themselves. And the movie is not really making it clear that these are like permanently dead, especially when there's like so many monsters racing all over the place. This is one place where I, as a stupid audience member, could have used someone like, cut off their heads. It's the only way to kill them. And just be like, okay, I know where we're at now. Thanks. Thumbs up. I know the rules, but
their head is their connection to Null, so they must not have it severed from their body.
Well, speaking of things the monsters can and can't do, at this point, it lets out a ringing signal to both alert Null and also temporarily separate the symbiotes from the people that they're on, which had me wondering, why did this monster not do this at any time earlier in the movie?
It's got to be on a fucking cooldown or something. If they have that ability all the time, it's OP. It is going to ruin the game.
Mm-hmm. And they don't necessarily want to separate the symbiote from Eddie, too, because they need that sweet codex.
Eddie zooms off on a motorcycle to distract the monsters for a while from the family who've decided they don't like aliens after all, other than their friend Eddie. Chiwetel is stabbed by a monster tail. Meanwhile, Venom and another symbiote use chopper blades to cut off a monster's head, fully killing it. Eddie's pulled to safety.
With some motorcycle tricks, too.
Yeah. Venom uses his long arms to pull Eddie to safety. He's been stabified by some shrapnel or something like that. And Venom's like, I have to sacrifice myself to keep the codex from unlocking Null. These sentences. So he does a hero walk while the symbiote absorbs various monsters, which is yet another thing where I'm like, he could do this all the time.
I feel like as silly as the sequence as this is, there was something weirdly sad about this scene between the two characters.
Well, you know what I found genuinely tender? I was about to get to it. He ejects Eddie out to keep him safe while he's putting himself in acid. And there's this weirdly sweet moment, I thought, where he sends a little tendril out to put an armored door over Eddie to try and protect him from what's coming up next, which is...
He does not do that for Chiwetel Ejiofor.
No, Chiwetel,
who
who is dying, he's just holding him up to the voice recognition thing so he can say, Strickland, and then have the acid come down.
And he blows everything up with a grenade, too. Which I'm not sure how that door protected Eddie, because that grenade also seems to set off like the entire... anything explosive in the general vicinity goes up.
I mean, much the same way that in Craven, he is blown up with a missile and then falls in a pile of rubble falls in him, and he just Bugs Bunny his way out, where he just suddenly is standing behind the bad guy with no explanation. You know, it's just hero stuff.
At the last minute, as everything explodes, Juno Temple is only able to save one of her colleagues by breaking a test tube and turning herself into a symbiote host at the last minute. And Eddie,
great. She's got a best friend now. It's cool.
Yeah.
Eddie wakes up in the hospital calling for Venom, and an army guy's like, he's not coming back. These Sony movies were a bad idea. He's not coming back.
I love this. This is a very funny moment when he looks over and there's just been an army guy standing there the whole time, waiting for him to wake up, I guess, to deliver the message to him. But it's just very funny.
Yeah, but at least he pardons Eddie for anything he possibly could be prosecuted for, with the caveat.
Something that a military leader doesn't really have the ability to do.
Well, maybe he's a messenger. I mean,
I guess so.
He brings he adds the caveat that, of course, he will be indefinitely detained somewhere if he speaks a word of any of it. And then we have the ending of the film before the credits.
Mm-hmm. What?
Where Eddie walks around New York dreaming a sentimental montage of all of the fun times he had with Venom.
Because Venom had been talking about how much he wanted to see New York. So,
the one thing I missed
Maroon
is
5's of Memories plays. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's fine. The one clip that they did not play from previous movies, I really would have liked the moment where Michelle Williams is sitting with him on a stoop, and she's like, Eddie, I'm sorry about Venom.
I'm sorry about Venom. What a great line.
We're all sorry about Venom. And he stares out at Lady Liberty, and he says, I won't forget you, buddy. It's such a weirdly sentimental ending. A tale of a man in love with an alien.
Like, no shit, dude. He's not going to forget the, months he was bonded with an alien biting people's heads off.
No matter how much therapy he can get, he will never forget Venom.
It does open the possibility that he'll get married, have a family, and then just be like, eating dinner sometime, be like, oh, you know who I just thought about? Venom. I haven't thought about him in years.
Yeah.
Who?
Oh,
Oh, I
I
never
never
told you?
told you about him. My roommate / body mate. Oh, we were.
Yeah.
we were so close.
Yeah,
literally.
he's on a camping trip with friends, and somebody gets bitten by a snake, and they're like, "Hurry, Eddie, get the anti-venom." He's like, "Venom? I got a story for you, buddy."
Eddie, there's not time. So the listed runtime for this film is 1 hour 50, but here at 1 hour 32, we get credits.
And Stuart was like, "Ooh, I'm living on borrowed time, baby," and
But-
turned it off.
Of course, are there credit scenes? You better believe it, Vinheads.
Sure.
There's a mid-credit one where Knowles swears he's going to find a way to Earth and destroy it. And he
Don't
says,
worry, we'll never see him again.
He says, and you will watch. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so.
Real
Unless
funny
they
games
change around.
moment, yeah.
Unless Sony changes his mind. But maybe, I mean, if it happens, we will watch it for the podcast probably.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then there's the end
Venom,
credits.
the actual Last Dance.
Yeah. At the very end of the credits.
Wait, there's another one?
Yeah, the bartender emerges from the
Oh,
smoking
okay, right.
ruins of Area 51, where he'd been held, and a cockroach crawls up to some remaining symbiote in a test tube, which retroactively gives context to some utterly meaningless chatter Judo Temple has with the security guard earlier about how cockroaches survive, for millions of years or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's a true thing about cockroaches. Why is this in the movie at this point? Like,
Just
and
to
it's funny
set it
because
up.
the security guard is like also nods like, yeah, you're not very good at making small talk, are you? Well, go on.
Does it become like a Venom cockroach?
It threatens to, but the screen goes black.
It's implied that this
Oh,
cockroach will now be a Venom cockroach, which is one of those things where we've already seen we've seen Venom symbiotes in the wild on people and other animals. We know there are other Venom symbiotes that survived. So I don't quite know what the purpose is of this moment. If it's supposed to seem cool, but the idea usually this is when you realize, oh, there's still one left.
Here we go again.
We know
Yeah.
Juno Temple's walking around with one on, right? Like the other ones are still around, I think. So
Yeah.
it kind of undercuts the coolness of finding out there's another because there's a bunch of other ones too. Yeah.
Well, let's get into our final judgments of the final or last dance.
Dance,
for
yeah,
now.
not the final dance.
Is this a good, bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie kind of like this is entirely out of like weird affection that I'd grown to have for these movies, having to watch all of them for the podcast. I did kind of like this. I think it's just Stockholm Syndrome of like Tom Hardy really loves doing this. There's enough silly things in each movie that I have fun. And this one, like I said, before the credits drop was only an hour and a half. So I kind of liked it, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone per se. It's
So
just
it's not your recommendation for this episode.
circumstances have caused me to learn to love Venom the way Eddie has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you've been bonded to the
Yeah.
Venom series as Eddie Brock is bonded to Venom. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is kind of on the border between a bad movie and a movie I kind of like. There's some, like, it is, I feel like it's by the numbers in a lot of ways, but there are weird moments that are great. And it is just such a strange thing that so much of the movie is this guy who's like kind of hapless and like barely a hero, just wandering around. And then there's just a loud voice yelling at him. And you don't even see Venom for most of the time. It's just like, I don't know. It's just such a strange choice. It's just they're weird. They're weird movies. Okay. Right. I think we can agree they're weird movies.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's on that same line for me between bad and movie I kind of liked. When it's just, exactly, when it's the weird moments where it's just Tom Hardy and Venom talking to each other. That's the kind of stuff in the first movie I was like, all right, he's like a wisecracking alien who loves pop culture stuff. But now that has grown on me, and I think it's because it's weird to say this, but I feel like Tom Hardy has grown into the Venom character in addition to making the Eddie Brock character more of a shambling loser,
Yeah.
And so I really like that. But anytime it's dealing with the main plot of the movie, it's super dull and exposition heavy and like you're saying, by the numbers.
And it's kind of fascinating that like Tom Hardy has basically turned this into, and I'm assuming he has a lot of control over this, but I feel like the movies have turned into a weird like love affair between Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy. Like
Yes.
it's like he's like, it's just such a weird thing.
And I would much rather see a movie about Eddie Brock trying to have a regular life and dealing with the fact that he's like a drop dead Fred type version of Venom, Because I agree, you're right. It's this weird thing of a love affair between two characters played by the same actor who feel like they're playing different sides of that same person, and that's more fun to me than any of this stuff.
It would be
about
so much more
Null.
fun if they had lowered the stakes and there was like no other Venom characters in there, and it was just like him, okay, I have to deal with. Yeah, I'm just like it's like a slice of life story where he's like dealing with like neighborhood problems, basically.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Stuart, you wanna
Yeah,
go
so
ahead?
earlier today, I've been doing a lot of teasing, folks. I'm the tease master today, and I was teasing all the bonus content that we have. And you know what? We have so much bonus content available for anybody who supports the Max Fun Network and our show. Well, just anybody who's a supporter at $5 a month or more. Everybody has access to this massive library of bonus content. A library that you can also like tweak and tailor depending on what your needs are. Because not only do we have bonus content on there, but all the other shows on the network have been contributing bonus content. And some of those shows have been on the network longer than us. We've done so many cool things, from like full-length feature-length full movie commentaries so that you can try and sync up the thing to watching the movie. I think we did one for Country Bears. We did one for, Cats?
Cats, yeah.
Some other things. We have a bunch of like weird side episodes where we did an episode where we were like put the Flophouse treatment to some TV shows, and then as Dan, I think Dan or Elliot mentioned on a previous episode, we did a series of 3 kind of slightly shorter episodes of the podcast where we go over the movies of Graydon Clark, such as Joysticks, one of the Lambada movies he made, and what was Star Games, which is. Yeah, that's something
Which
special.
is basically a family home movie that is released as a film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something
And
special.
you know what? It occurs to me that this is the second one of the drive. Some stretch goals have been announced by now, so I just want to reinforce them on main feed here. Like, as in previous years, we have stretch goals. If we get 500 or more new or upgrading members, we're going to do a raffle like we did before. Stuff, like we're going to pick I think 30 of y'all to get stuff from all of us, whether it be swag or a personalized drawing from me. And also for 1,000, the stretch goal is there's a script that I wrote that I'm going to produce as a fully produced radio play. So if that intrigues you, if you're like, oh, some scripted content from Dan McCoy that he has to do a lot of work for, make me do that work by becoming a member.
And basically what Dan's saying is that if you are considering considering supporting, do it now. Will you please go and support the Flophouse today by going to MaximumFun.org/join to support today. Now, one final piece of BOCO, that's bonus content, that's pretty, it's close to my heart, is there's a couple of episodes of the Flop Tales where I make Dan, Elliot, and Jubin play role-playing games with me as the Dungeon Master. I have a feeling that some of our listeners might be interested in tabletop role-playing games. And that was a thing that started as us doing a crossover from a way past, 8 years ago or something, Max Fun thing where we did a crossover with the Adventure Zone. So we played some D&D, and I got them to do that. And then we have since spun into other settings. There's like a weird boiled, almost pseudo Lovecraft game. There's one where they are animated dogs. And then this year we produced a game where I had them running and staffing a seaside seasonal restaurant on the first day of the season and just trying to keep that thing going, kind of in the vein of TV shows from the 70s like It's a Living or Alice or something like that. And those shows are the Flop Tales, or in this case, Slop Tales, are really important to me because that's a hobby that I love, and it's also by far the most work I've ever done for the podcast. And with that in mind, one of the things that's great about our show and doing it listener-supported is that so much of pop culture these days is being increasingly controlled by a small group of very big companies, and and it feels like if you want to support, like watch anything or listen to any music, you're giving money to companies that are not cool. They are bad companies. They are bad, and they're supporting bad people. And one of the great things about supporting us and supporting kind of creator-owned things is that you get to feel like you are putting your money toward the people who are actually making the thing that you're enjoying, and not just some kind of like bullshit world zaibatsu that's like grinding out content just for the sake of it. Your money is directly supporting us, and I think that's really important. And for me, I found that specifically during the pandemic, it really helped me realize my priorities when it came to where I'm putting my money. I'm not just asking you to support the Flophouse or support the creators you love. I put my money where my mouth is. I like to put my money toward things like Bandcamp, Patreon, and I'm also a Max Fun member. I like to, if there's creators out there that are making things I love, I like to give them money if I can. And that's one of the nice things about Max Fun is that not only do they give us a platform for doing this, they give us the freedom to make the show that we want, and they give you a relatively easy way to support us, the Flophouse, your favorite podcast. So why don't you head over to MaximumFun.org/join and become a Max Fun member today, please?
Let's do some letters, guys.
Let's do
Why not?
some letters.
Let's treat ourselves.
That's what we call it, right? Doing letters.
Well, I'll read them and then
doing
we'll
letters.
respond. This is from Adam, last name withheld.
Do those
Adam
letters,
McGoyan?
Yep.
Director of Exotica and the Sweet Hereafter. Yep.
Adam writes, as a native Minnesotan, I hold the 1996 Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary Jingle All the Way near and dear to my heart as the pinnacle of the 90s Minnesota film renaissance, standing alongside Fargo, Mallrats, The Mighty Ducks, Drop Dead Fred, and Drop Dead Gorgeous as an essential piece of our cinematic history.
The Drop Dead series.
Yeah.
Drop Dead Before Midnight. This year, my wife and I meticulously tracked and mapped Schwarzenegger's Christmas Eve film odyssey to get a Turbo Man for Jamie, and determined that to jingle all the way means driving 100 plus miles and or 3.5 hours plus in search of one very specific last-minute gift, not counting shopping, committing multiple felonies, pushing his SUV 10 across town, or many, many other shenanigans. Are there other movies that come to mind for compressing an absurd amount of chaos into one day/night? Thanks for the laughs and keep your stick on the ice. Adam, last name withheld.
Not After Hours. That makes perfect sense to me.
Well, the thing is, like, I gotta say, I love the one crazy night conceit, and I will forgive the idea of like a bunch of chaos being compressed into one night because that's part of the fun of it. What always bothers me in movies, even though I know that one of the points of filmmaking is we can compress or expand time at will. It's one of the magic powers of cinema. But when a movie really relies on like putting something off for a long time for suspense, and then at the end, like, oh, we magically did it in like 5 minutes at the end of the movie, and that's okay. Like, I don't like that kind of like playing with time, but
I like it when they take the moments before death and they slow it down, and I get to see my hands running through the wheat field. I can see my dead family far off in the distance, and I realize revenge was worth it, you know?
Or if you're like falling down the middle of like an atrium in a big building because Dredd has shot you or whatever happens at the end.
Dredd has smashed a tube of slow-mo into my mouth and then thrown me off a building, and I get to experience slow-mo style. What a picture.
What a picture.
What a picture, indeed. I think the only thing that bothers me along those ways is when characters go from hating each other to being in love with each other over the course of one night, or one day. That happens a lot in movies, and I'm always like,
"No, man, you haven't lived."
I guess not. I guess not. But it can also be fun to see something, where it's just like, oh, what a night! Oh, so much stuff happened.
Oh, what a night!
Yep, that's how it goes.
So much stuff happened in this movie.
This actually, just like the last episode, this listener question is going to tie in with my movie recommendation.
Oh, wow.
Teaser! Oh, the Tease Master strikes again.
Wow. Chosen.
Alex, edit that whatever Dan just said out.
No, that's your new catchphrase. You've been chosen.
So that doesn't really answer, but It sort of does. Blake, last name withheld, also writes in.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Blake writes, the ice cream truck just drove by,
Uh-huh.
and I was immediately...
Is this a poem?
Man, Blake Edwards is waiting for an ice cream truck?
The ice cream truck just drove by, and I was immediately compelled to cease my lazy day, get out of my awesome Jedi bathrobe, and get dressed. I didn't run out there in the nude, and
good.
run after it to buy a Batman popsicle. I am 40 years old. What are things that
So this is one of
create-
those. This is one of those baby shoes never worn type stories.
It's like, what should I do? What are things that create such a childlike sense of honest nostalgia for you that you have no choice but to indulge? I don't mean fan service. I mean the stuff that actually triggers emotion. Love you guys. Blake, last name withheld.
Thanks, Blake.
This is a hard one to go. Like, I feel like oftentimes we sort of like dance around the question because it's easier, to be frank.
Yeah.
But
Oh, hey,
there's,
Frank.
there's stuff like that came to my mind. Like, I love a movie that has stop motion in it, just because it creates this like connection to like such a simple, like beautiful past craft. But it's not like I'm indulging in a particular thing. It's just like a thing that I like when it comes up. Another sort of thing that came to mind is, my childhood movie hero was always Harrison Ford in, like Star Wars or Indiana Jones. And so no matter how grumpy the man is,
Or when he
in the
turns into
future,
the Red Hulk.
I'm like, I like, even during the lean Harrison Ford years, I always at least considered seeing a movie that had him in it just because he was in it,
Was that one with Brad Pitt, the IRA movie?
The Devil's Own?
Ugh.
Review. What do you guys think?
I find that most of my nostalgia gets triggered by seeing old commercials, like the commercials from when I was a kid. They feel so different than modern commercials. But also, I think like the taste of Hebrew National beef salami is a real taste of my childhood that I don't get that often. The touch, the feel, cotton, the fabric of my life. Yeah. But in terms of movies, I don't know. I mean, there's certain there's certain movies that I think movies that have a very mid 80s level of technology. Whenever watching those, there's a certain sort of nostalgia to like when I was a little kid and just how much more analog the world was and how much less digital it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a real, for a long time, the like Annapurna logo, which looks very much like a VHS tracking, or an old TV turning on, like that would really get to me. So
I just thought of one that like I really turned around on early CGI. Like at the time, I was just like angry. I'm like, well, we have ways of doing the thing that you're doing that look better for the technology and budget you have, but now...
Like they had a rock. Why do they have to come up with this CGI Scorpion King
Exactly.
guy?
But now I look back at that stuff, I'm like, oh, give me more. Like I just saw at the most recent Ridiculous Sublime screening at the Nighthawk with Virtuosity.
Oh,
It's got
boy.
some beautiful
like
stuff in it.
we did that live show about Spawn, and like when the Spawn movie came out, I was like, ugh, this looks terrible. But watching it now, I'm like, this looks beautifully terrible. Yeah, and it's all nostalgia. It's just nostalgia.
And it's in that like in Virtuosity is like the world that Sid is in is this like very vaporwave world where it's it's like, oh, it's just a vast void with columns in it, and someone's playing giant chess pieces behind him. I'm like, this is what we thought technology meant back then.
Yeah.
It all looked like like the animated menu on a CD-ROM.
Yeah. I think you guys have kind of answered the main question pretty well. I mean, I will also throw in there if I ever see glass bricks, like a glass brick wall,
yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck, give me that shit.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be some silk stockings here. But there's a thing that I have trouble with, and that's when I was watching the first season of The Bear, there's an episode where they install a ticket machine for doing takeout orders, and the sound of that fucking ticket machine it drives me insane. Like it reminds me of working in places where I had a ticket machine, or with the timers at the bar have a very specific tone. And if I ever hear that, like that specific ringing tone, like I hear it in my dreams sometimes. But like one of my bartenders was playing a song that had that tone, that ringing tone in it. I'm like, turn that fucking thing off.
Well, I used to have. I had an alarm clock that made the same sound as the alarm clock at the start of the theme song for the animated Tick TV show.
Okay.
And I remember at one point rewatching one of those, and that sound came up in the beginning, and I was like, ugh! Like even though I was awake, I jolted as if I was waking up.
Yeah, like when movies use what the stock Apple like iPhone alarm thing. I'm like,
makes me tense
I hate
every
this
time.
movie.
Yeah.
I hate this. I want to leave.
Let's recommend some movies, shall we?
Yeah, why not?
let's do
Movies you've seen.
Do they
and
make any
enjoyed.
good ones? I
I'll
don't think
allow
so.
it.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to do something a little unusual, and I'm going to recommend a short film. It's from
Elliot, is this okay?
It's okay. I mean, he's recommended short films before, so he can do it again. Yeah.
Thank you for the ruling.
Yeah. Precedent is on your side.
Yeah, well, that doesn't always mean
Okay,
anything. I
counselor.
appreciate that you have kept to the old ways. It's Windy Day is the title from 1968. I found it on the Criterion channel. I was looking to see what sort of short animation they had on there. It's directed by Faith and John Hubley, a married couple.
Okay.
And
They made a lot of animated.
Yes. And this one, it's their two daughters, one of whom grew up to be a founding member of Yo La Tengo. I found it out.
I didn't know that.
Looking up this movie, but this is some audio of the two daughters playing, and it's at least somewhat just like found audio, like improvised stuff. But I think that also, from what I read, it was guided a little bit by, the hands of the parents. But kids are not gonna. It's going to go off into weird directions. And this is a beautifully animated little short that is audio of two real children playing, and it captures sort of the phantasmagoria, like things like keep shifting. The older girl wants to put on a play. The younger girl's like, why do you always want to do plays? Doesn't want to do it until like it starts happening. And then of course she wants to join in. And it just really captures the feeling of kids at play and how they sort of stumble into weird and profound misunderstandings about the way the world works because they're children. And
Like the movie Kids, right?
not like that at all. And Elliot mentioned that John Hubley did a lot of stuff. I was looking him up. Did Disney work, did work for UPA, was responsible for the Mapo commercials. I Want My Mapo, co-created Mr. Magoo, did a bunch of Sesame Street animations, did the Doonesbury animated special. Like, his hands are all over the place.
Was that about politics?
Yeah, probably. But it led me down a rabbit hole of looking into more of that work because it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, and they did a number of cartoons using kind of kid audio.
Yeah.
Also, those are really good. Stuart, what are you going to recommend?
I'm going to recommend a movie that kind of fits into the compressed time, a lot of stuff happens genre, and that's a recent comedy called One of Them Days, starring Keke Palmer and SZA. It's basically like a goofy friends buddy movie where they are facing a economic crisis and they have to get it done by the end of the day or else bad things will happen, and things keep getting progressively worse for our two heroes. But they are both very charming. There's a bunch of weird characters intersect with their journey. It's a lot of fun, and it was a movie. I saw this movie, I feel like about a month ago when it was in theaters, and it was just so much fun to see a movie like this in a movie theater because it's so rare to see like comedies, like mid-budget comedies showing up in movie theaters. And yeah, it was just like a fun hangout movie with two leads who are incredibly likable. And I would watch them make another one of these. So that's my review. One of Them Days.
I'm going to recommend a movie that's kind of the opposite of that. It's a documentary that is not a fun hangout movie and is about a main character who is very unlikable and very and a little frightening. And this is the movie The Emperor's Naked Army Marches On. This is a Japanese documentary from 1987 that Kazuo Ohara directed. And it follows this guy, Kenzo Okazaki, he's a veteran of World War II, and he has become convinced that it is his calling to go and confront other veterans of World War II for their failures, both the failures of how they took care of the soldiers who were fighting for Japan in New Guinea, and also it is to confront them over their attempts to try to go back to normal life rather than becoming kind of almost biblical prophets of the madness of the war. And he is a very difficult person. He is at times a very violent person who he'll be confronting someone about what happened to them in the war and then just start beating them up because they're not saying the things he wants them to. And he is especially focused on the deaths of two soldiers that were executed under somewhat mysterious charges of desertion, but they were executed after the war had officially ended when they shouldn't have been able to be tried on those charges. And this is a spoiler. Most of the movie is him talking to people in tense meetings that, because of Japanese etiquette more than anything else, I think people will sit down and talk to him, and the meetings and try to talk calmly despite the tension. But about halfway through, suddenly all their conversations become about cannibalism among Japanese soldiers during World War II and who they were eating and why they were eating them. And it was just one of the biggest kind of sudden breaks in my understanding of what a movie was about in the middle of it. And it happens very calmly that someone is just like, yeah, anyway, I heard they were killed because they were going to talk about all the cannibalism that was happening. And then suddenly the movie is on that road. And it's like a real life portrait of almost like a real life kind of like Travis Bickle type person, and this crusade that he's on that is of questionable value, and the secrets that he's digging up potentially going on. And I found it to be a really kind of like fascinating movie and a really hard hitting movie, though it's not always. Sometimes it's an unpleasant watch, even though it's mostly scenes of people just talking to each other in different rooms and occasionally being beaten up by this guy.
Yeah, it's not a screwball comedy.
It is not a screwball comedy. It's not a particularly funny movie. And that's the Emperor's Naked Army marches on. Well worth seeing, but it's not a fun hangout movie.
Cool.
At all.
Stu, any last Max Fun Drive words before we sign off?
Yes. What I'm going to say is, if you are considering it, if you're on the fence, why don't you join Max Fun for $5 a month? That is $5 a month. That is like one egg a month. So you can join, and that'll give you access to the full bonus content library. And you can try what it's like over here on the good side of supporting Max Fun shows. You can also boost your membership if you can't do a full upgrade, or if you're living large, why don't you upgrade that membership and get some of that cool swag so you can show off your allegiance to Max Fun and impress all your friends. There's great gifts. There's tons of BOCO. You support creators like me, like Dan, like Elliot.
Yeah.
So please join today. Go to MaximumFun.org/join and become a Max Fun member now.
Thank you for that forceful pitch. And thank you to our producer, Alex Smith. He goes by the name of Howell Doughty, as a musician, as a Twitch streamer, making jokes on the internet. You can find him. And thank you, producer Alex. Thank you to the network. Thank you to you, the listener, for being with us. You're one of the hosts. And for the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
And I'm Elliot Kalin.
Bye.
See ya.
I wonder if this is the first time that the director of a movie has been an actor in the sequel to that movie.
Who was the director?
Because Andy Serkis directed the last Venom movie, and he plays Null in this movie.
True. Yeah, he really plays the hell out of it.
This character barely exists in the movie.
Director for this is the longtime screenwriter.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of nice. Getting a chance.
Sure.
Yeah. Put him in, coach.
The movie's not very good,
It's
but
something that Venom would probably say. Put him in, coach.
Put him in, coach. Eddie, put him in, coach.
Put him in, coach. Not first class for them.
Maximum Fun.
A worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
Directly
by you.